This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and colder, it can really take a toll on how we feel. Maybe that means calling your grandma, writing a letter to your friend, finally grabbing lunch with someone you haven't seen in a while. And just like reaching out to a friend, starting therapy can take a bit of courage. BetterHelp makes it easy to start therapy. You'll be matched with a licensed therapist based on your needs and preferences so you can focus on your growth and goals. Not happy with your match? You can switch therapists anytime with no hassle. This month, don't wait to reach out, whether that's checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself. BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PFF. That's betterhelp.com/PFF. Let's get to a massive game that we had between Indiana and Penn State. Penn State almost pulled it out, but an incredible drive by Fernando Mendoza, one of the top Heisman candidates right now. Indiana escaped with a 27-24 victory. Indiana moves to 10-0 in back-to-back seasons and also 10-0 for the second time ever in program history. Let's go over the highest graded players, starting off with the second-ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Highest graded player was actually the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, 86.1 grade in the win. Charlie Becker, though, who was awesome at wide receiver for them in place of Elijah Surratt, who missed the game with an injury, 79.2 grade. Linebacker Elijah Hardy, 76.5. Tyreek Tucker, the D tackle, with a 75.4 grade. Tight end here in Riley Nowakowski with a 74.1. Mikael Kamara, 72.7. Let's go over to Penn State with their highest graded players in the loss. Highest graded player was the safety King Mack, 85.1. Cornerback Zion Tracy, 75.2. Zariah Fisher, the edge rusher, 74.5. Trevor Pena, the wide receiver, 72.3. D tackle Zane Durant, 70.8. And Ethan Grunkmeyer with a very commendable 71 grade in the loss for the redshirt freshman backup quarterback, or original backup quarterback, now the starter for Penn State, with Drew Aller out for the season. Dalton, what told the story in this game for you?
First of all, credit to your Penn State Nittany Lions for the heart they showed in this game, and behind and then coming back. The defense playing well. The defensive line I thought was really good. And Ethan Grunkmeyer really keeping it cool under pressure. I thought he was really good for most of the day, especially the second half. But obviously, as everybody and their mother who watched this game knows, the story is Fernando Mendoza. Under pressure in multiple different ways. When he was under pressure in the pocket, 7 of 13, 86 yards, plus that game-winning touchdown, an 85.5 passing grade with 3 big-time throws under pressure. I think if there's a word to describe Fernando Mendoza more than anything else, yes, you have, he's accurate and he can win from the pocket. He can win a little outside the pocket at a rushing TD in this game as well, but I think it's toughness. That's got to be the word for him, especially in this game alone with the comeback and having to put together that final drive with no timeouts on the board. And then just in general, the number of throws he makes while he's getting hit in the pocket. And you talk about staring down the barrel. Mendoza stares down the barrel constantly. And then you look at just some other things in this game. Penn State blitzed him 55% of the time, 86 passing grade against the blitz. Then you look at that last drive. Obviously, that's going to be, right now, that's the drive of Mendoza's career. They're calling it the drive of Indiana's season. Now, I don't think they would have been knocked out of the playoff had they lost that.
No,
but
absolutely not.
Especially still having the tiebreaker over Oregon. They still would have made the Big 12 or the Big 10 title game. But you look at that drive and what it symbolizes for this team, and to be able to go on the road in a tough environment. Hell, I mean, to be honest, Max, that drive was so good it got a smile out of Kurt Signetti, which is actually the craziest thing that I saw out of this entire setting here in Happy Valley, is we actually got a smile out of Kurt Signetti after the game. Because you know me, every Saturday I say it, my favorite thing is no matter what's going on, they could be up 55-0, and when they pan the camera to Kurt Signetti, he just looks pissed off about something.
It's like Nick Saban. Remember Nick Saban when he was up by, I think, like 28 in the national title game, I guess against Notre Dame, I think, with like 2 minutes left, and he was still screaming at his players.
Well, and wasn't A.J. McCarron doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, it was like there was like 2 minutes left. You're up by 28 in the national title game, and Nick Saban's still pissed off. This
game was so wild. We got a grin out of Kurt Signetti. But when you look at that last drive, right? Mendoza, look, it was up and down throughout the day. The interception to King Mack was bad earlier in the fourth quarter. 71.9 passing grade before that last drive. 92.7 on that last drive. Just outstanding stuff. Balls down the seams. How about the day Charlie Becker had Omar Cooper with what they're calling the catch of the year also, and I understand that. How in
Not
the
for
world?
me.
Not for you, of course, but it's been a tough year for you, certainly for both of your teams. But I mean, just sometimes, and this is not the only game of the weekend where this happened. We got a couple more coming to talk about a performance like this. But sometimes, man, you're on the road, you're playing a talented team that maybe hasn't had a great year, obviously, and your quarterback just has to get you through it. Mendoza did that to a T, especially on that last drive.
Yeah, Walt, even in the chat saying, gotta say Mendoza's tough, man. Tough as nails.
Tough. I think toughness, sometimes if you're just going to embody certain guys in one word, I do think toughness is that, right? When you think about how that was learned.
And he was taking some shots from Penn State all throughout the game.
Well, think about how that was learned even last year, because remember Cal did they have the lowest graded O-line in the Power 5 last year?
He was getting killed back there.
Cal's offensive line last year was so bad, and he found a way to still at times make throws. You can remember at the end of the Miami game, and I think he had to leave that game with a concussion and all. I mean, the toughness of this guy and the learned nature of moments like that, when, again, Penn State's blitzing at the end of the game, Penn State was just all three of those plays. All right, we're going 0.
Yeah.
We're going to hit you, and if you make the throws through the hits, then fine. And he absolutely did it. I mean, unbelievable stuff from Mendoza, especially at the end of this game. And toughness is the word. And that sort of toughness he brings to Indiana. Without, let's say it too, and we're going to get into the other guy here that factors it, without Elijah Surratt.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Surratt really carried him through the Iowa game when it got tough like this, right? Mendoza was the one just making the throws. And again, Becker with great catches, Omar Cooper with the one at the end. Just a great day for Indiana football. And like you mentioned, getting their 10th win 2 years in a row when they'd never done it before.
Yeah, it's crazy. Mendoza, like I said, he was taking some huge hits from Penn State's D-line all throughout the game, not even on the last drive of the game. All throughout the game, he's taking some big shots, and he still delivered in the clutch for Indiana. My stat is really Indiana, 92.7 offensive grade on that 2-minute drive to win the game. Only a 66.8 offensive grade the whole rest of the game, right? So Indiana just found it in the clutch right there. Mendoza at 91.4 passing grade in that 2-minute drill with 2 big-time throws and no turnover-worthy plays. In the biggest drive of the year for Indiana, Mendoza and Indiana's offense stepped it up with a 10-play, 80-yard touchdown drive in only a minute and 15 seconds. Like you said, Dalton, even if they lost to Penn State, they would still be around, I don't know, number 5 or number 6 probably in college football to be above Oregon because they beat Oregon. And it wouldn't really, they still would have made the Big Ten title game if they beat Ohio State, whatever. This game was so important, I think, to Indiana, and just like the Iowa game was too. Like, listen, we can win these ball games. We don't have to just beat everyone, by 50 points every single week. If we get into a fist fight, we can win those fist fights. I think that is so massive, not only for where they stand right now in the rankings, but also so massive for their confidence when they go into the playoff and play some of the best teams in the country. They can win fist fights as well. They don't have to blow everyone out of the water. They can win these kinds of games too. I think this is huge for the confidence of that football team.
The defense wavered a bit in this game late, especially in the second half. I mean, you look at the run game struggling, less than 4 yards per design carry. Mendoza, again, with the big scramble on the touchdown early in the game too. So I think for me, it's a big one where last year it felt like eventually when you got to the Ohio State game and the Notre Dame game, and Curtis Rourke had an outstanding season. He was unbelievable last year. But you got to those 2 games and you go, he couldn't carry us through it against those types of defenses. And look, Penn State's those are really talented defense.
Yeah.
So there's NFL players all over this defense. We're going to see it. It's another step in the right direction. Now, if Mendoza goes and does it against Ohio State, oh boy, I mean, now you're really talking about Indiana might be the favorite at that point for the national title. But let's see it again. Then when we get this stage, only gets bigger from here. But this was a huge win for them to get in the fourth quarter.
Hey, listen, I think we should talk about this right now because I think this has been the talk of Twitter all over today is who should win the Heisman Trophy right now. And listen, I am victim to this too, and I actually want to apologize because I was saying it should be the Heisman favorite, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter because whoever wins that Big Ten title game is going to win the Heisman Trophy. And I would argue whoever wins the Big Ten title game should win the Heisman Trophy. If Fernando Mendoza beats Ohio State, he probably should win the Heisman. So I did it on Twitter. I apologize for going so crazy with Julian saying, but really, I know the argument. I know people have to argue right now about it. It'll all get settled in December. It'll all get settled in that game. Whoever wins that game will win the Heisman Trophy right now. So I know all the arguments on Twitter right now. We'll get to our Heisman segment later on in the show where we reveal who we think should win the Heisman as of right now. But it doesn't matter as of right now because in December, in a few weeks, when these two play each other, whoever wins that game is going to win the Heisman.
Absolutely. I mean, that's barring
barring Ty Simpson just going nuclear these next few weeks, which is possible.
A couple other guys, too, that are, I would say, in that mix when you look at some of the numbers, too. But I think barring actually, Ohio State's still got to beat Michigan this time.
Yeah.
Because, look, Michigan's still sitting there with one conference loss, and they beat Ohio State. All of a sudden, you're going to get Indiana and Michigan. That's a real scenario, right?
That is true.
Look, Ohio State still has to beat Michigan, which is a task, obviously. I do think that's the most likely scenario. Is that no matter what you think after week 10, week 11, any next week 12, doesn't matter. It's probably going to come down to that game.
Yeah.
And the winner, the Heisman moment, is just going to be all right. Who came out and won the Big Ten? If they both get there undefeated, it's going to be 1-2. And honestly, the loser of that game should not even drop out of the top 4 at that point. They should still get the bye week going into the playoff. But boy, what an epic Big Ten title game we could have between these two teams and these two quarterbacks.
Yeah, Kevin Chow was saying regardless of who wins the game, it also depends on how they play in the game. Sure, I agree with that. But also, like, these two are close enough in grades and all these stats this year. Like, it's basically like who wins that game is going to win the Heisman. It's going to come down to that. So, yes, the Heisman talk is really hot in the streets right now on Twitter, but it's all going to get settled in a few weeks in December at that Big Ten title game. Really get settled throughout the country as well. Dalton, who are you going to shout out here in this one?
I mean, how about Charlie Becker? Look, we just mentioned that you didn't have Elijah Surratt out there, right? And you need somebody to step up. How about the sophomore wide receiver who's really been a core special teamer for this Indiana team, coming out with 7 catches, 118 yards, 3 for 3 uncontested targets, 5 first downs, 82 receiving grade. You need somebody to step up when your number one receiver is out. Obviously, Cooper with the big final catch, but I think the play that needs to not get forgotten here, how about the catch before the catch with Charlie Becker on the sideline one-on-one with that contested catch that got him inside the 10-yard line? Just, you need somebody sometimes that just comes out of absolutely nowhere to step up and have a huge game. That's what Becker did in this one, and all of a sudden you think about Surratt coming back, but tell you what, with his size and the way he's making these contested catches, Becker's got to play more, regardless of whether Surratt's on the field or not. Unbelievable performance out of nowhere. You talk about clutch. This guy, again, with 7 career catches coming into the game, he had 7 in this game for 118. I mean, as if Indiana needed any more weapons. And again, with the run game not going all that well for most of the day for Indiana, just great stuff. Charlie Becker, you talk about an unsung hero stepping up all of a sudden. That was just a great performance.
Yeah, so most impressive was probably Fernando Mendoza, because we talked about him, and we'll see already. I'll shout out Signetti, of course, the head coach for Indiana. Just, it's unreal, man. I know we said it time and time again at Indiana, but this is a program that was quite literally one of the worst programs in college football when he took over.
By the numbers, the worst.
By numbers, the worst. By the way, did you see that their win over Penn State, they have now passed Northwestern in the all-time wins category. So now they're the second fewest wins in Power 4 history.
Working their way up.
Dude, listen, if Signetti's there for another 15 years, they'll work their way up a lot higher on that list too. But back-to-back 10-win years for Indiana now. It's their first 2 10-win years in program history. They did not have a single 10-win year in the 125 seasons before Signetti took over. Now he's gone 2 for 2 in 10-win seasons. His first win ever at Penn State for Indiana as a program. I love the answer he gave the sideline reporter, Dalton. We're like, hey, Indiana's never won at Penn State. And he goes, this team has never played at Penn State before. And they did, and they won this game. His quarterback is now one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy. Indiana should finish 12-0 for the first time ever, setting up possibly the biggest Big Ten championship game of all time in number 1 Ohio State versus number 2 Indiana. And how about Indiana, man? Wins at Oregon, at Iowa, and at Penn State. That's unreal for Indiana football.
Don't cry strength of schedule this time.
Yeah.
Nope. Not. Well, I know there was all
those road games. Those are 3 tough environments to win at, and they won all 3 of them.
There was all that talk last year about strength of schedule. We're not doing that this time.
Yeah, absolutely not.
No, this is legitimately one of. I mean, right now, I have no issue calling them the second best team in the country where they're ranked right now.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no problem with that either. Big win for Indiana, coming back and beating Penn State 27-24.